Welcome everyone. Parents, thank you for being here tonight, making the time to come and learn a little bit about Imagine Language and Literacy and how it can support your child. We really appreciate you being here. My name is Carrie Stafford. I work with Imagine Learning, and prior to joining the Imagine Learning team, I actually was in public education as a teacher and administrator. I worked in professional development for 14 years before I joined the Imagine Learning team. So we really are excited to have you here tonight. I'm honored to be invited to your parent university. So thank you, Twin Rivers. And I'll let everyone else introduce themselves.
So I guess I'll go next. Alberto Becerra, EL coordinator with the English Learner Services Department with Twin Rivers. And I just want to welcome all our parents. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you, Ms. Carey, for taking the time to come and make sure that we had this important information shared with our families and parents. Mr. Heriberto, thank you for helping us put all this together. And Mr. Barajas, our interpreter, thank you. And again, welcome to all our families. And we hope that you get some good information that you can take back with you and then to implement this program a bit more effectively with your kids. Thank you.
And I am Jody Van Duzen. I'm with English Learner Services as well. I'm an interim program specialist, and we are so excited to have you here this evening. I have been a teacher as well for a long time and have been working in PD and then now as a program specialist. And we know that parents have reached out and asked how they can help their students practice English, especially during distance learning where we are at home, a lot of us. So this is such a wonderful, support for parents. So I'm so appreciative of Ms. Stafford being here tonight to share this wonderful resource with the families.
Thank you. Are there any other introductions? I don't want to miss anybody and get started. No? Okay, perfect. Thank you all. Thank you, families, for being here again. We're excited to share with you this program so that you can help your children get into Imagine Language and Literacy and really see the benefit and growth in their English language development through this program. So you've been on probably several Zooms over the last 6 to 7 months, but it is helpful. I wanted to make sure you knew we were going to record it. We have an hour this evening and I've left plenty of time for questions, but please feel free to stop, unmute yourself or put a question into chat and we will definitely answer those as we go. So I want to make sure all questions are answered when you have them. Seems like everybody is muted, so you're already Zoom experts. That is helpful not to have the background noise occasionally to make sure everyone can hear appropriately. And we've shared already to please put your questions into chat or unmute yourself. We're such a small group, so if you have a question, I want to make sure I answer it this evening. So a little bit about what we're going to be reviewing this evening. We're going to give you an introduction so you can kind of understand what Imagine Language and Literacy, the program, will do for your child. A little bit about the background and overview of the program, how it can support your child, and then some of the details on how actually your child will be able to log in using Twin Rivers programs and apps. And so I have some slides that will help you help your child get into the program. And I'll share with you some sample learning activities so you can see how the program will support your child in their academic and basic English language development. And then of course, questions at the end. So a little bit about Imagine Language and Literacy, some of the basics and overview of the program. It is a supplemental digital learning solution that has over 4,300 learning activities really designed to engage and support your students. The curriculum spans from pre-K through 6th grade. However, we've also found it really incredibly helpful for some of our newcomer students, as well as different struggling students in the secondary grades as well, so grades 7 through 12. With Imagine Language and Literacy, all children receive explicit, targeted instruction within an individualized learning path specific for your child. It is continually adjusting itself, that pathway, and will be supporting your student both in foundational literacy as well as basic and academic vocabulary. All of this is supported by a comprehensive assessment system that provides actionable data to make progress monitoring easy for your child's teacher to really help support and develop that English language within for your child. How would you like every slide to be then translated? Do you want just questions? I'm flexible.
I, I would say, well, Barajas is in the background, so I think just be mindful that he's translating as the information you're sharing.
Okay, perfect. So rather than doing it, he doesn't need to go off mute. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be flexible if he wanted to speak then, and
Well,
make.
yeah, he's on the Spanish channel.
Okay, perfect.
I think just pausing a little bit after each slide so he has a little bit of time to
Okay, that's great.
translate.
Wonderful. That's even better that he's on that channel. I've done it both ways in previous training, so perfect.
Great, thank you.
And if ever necessary, please just say, Carrie, slow down. All right. One of our core beliefs at Imagine Learning is that every single student is a language learner. So regardless of what language they speak at home, every student comes to us at school, whether via Zoom or in person, distance learning or in person, to learn academic language, really the language of school. So no one is a native speaker of an academic language. It must be learned for all of our children. So in that respect, all of our teachers are language teachers as well. We also believe in building upon students' talents and skills because we recognize that all students come to us with powerful assets. So your children's first languages are a powerful asset to them, and it's something that we want to help build on and grow with. It's definitely something that we want to use to boost up our students. You'll never find in Imagine Learning the curriculum watered down. Rather, we always are scaffolding up to provide additional support to help your children achieve success. You will never find it watered down. In fact, it's that boosting up is so important that we actually named our main mascot Booster for that case. So the little robot your children will grow to know and learn and to love. His name is Booster because of our belief in boosting students up. Okay. Please feel free to take a screenshot or take a picture with your phone if you'd like of any slides we have. This might be a helpful one to refer. I will also send these slides as an email that can be sent out. But we always recommend starting to log your student in using a Chrome browser. So as you can see here, the Chrome browser, it supports the bandwidth of the learning activities because there are short videos, the activities, they require a lot of bandwidth. So we always recommend starting this process to log into Imagine Learning with a Chrome browser. And so exactly what you will want your child to do, first to browse to this URL, http, and then at //apps.twinriversusd.org. And you can see that here. I got wonderful pictures. So I appreciate that support and help. Then you'll click the sign in with your TRUSD account button. And that looks like this here. Thank you for putting that in the chat. That's awesome. And then enter your student ID. Your child will enter his or her student ID and password at the next login page, and then click sign in and the sign in button. Next, you may be asked to verify your password by entering the same password in the previous step, and then click Submit, as you can see here. Next, you will want to click on the curriculum folder that looks like this picture. And then the last step is to click on the Imagine Learning icon, which you can see right here. And the nice part about the way that Twin Rivers has this set up for your children is that once they click here, there are no more passwords needed, no more usernames. Your child will be able to go right into the program and get started. So that's the nice way that that is set up for your children. Are there any questions so far about logging in, getting into the program, or the overview? Okay, feel free to ask or put in chat if there are, if any come up at any time. All right. Now, while your child is working in the program, they will see various different navigation buttons. And so I always like to highlight those navigation buttons so that you can be aware if your child has questions and you're helping them, or just when you're looking over their shoulder and seeing what they're working on, to know what the different navigation buttons mean. So when your child is done with an activity, you will find this blue check mark. And this check mark will have your child submit their answer or turn their answer in to the program. This blue arrow to the right will move your child on to the next question. If your child wants to repeat an activity, they may click this icon. If they would like to have the directions repeated, which we always recommend, if they have any questions, listen to the directions again, then you will want your child to click repeat directions. Moving on to the next activity, the let's go. This is the icon for let's go. Moving on to the next activity. Pause. This is wait. So the program is timed for your child. So it is a 20-minute program, and teachers can set that. So we always say to refer to the district for usage recommendations, but sometimes you need a quick pause for a snack or whatever it may be. So your student will want to hit pause because that will stop the time and that will stop the activity. And then as soon as they come back, they will be able to click and start it again. And then when first language support is enabled in the program, the student will be able to click this translate button in order to hear the directions in his or her first language when that is enabled by your child's teacher. And so the very first time that your child hears directions of a new type of activity at any point in the program, if first language support is enabled, they will automatically hear the directions to that activity in the first language that's been enabled. And then the student, the second and third times they see a similar activity, your child will have this translate button appear and they'll click that. And I will talk a little bit more about how that works in just a few moments. Actually, the next slide, I believe.
So there's a question for you.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to ask, you mentioned about this program is for students as well. Do they need an access code from the teacher to work in this program?
That's a really good question. Because of the way that Twin Rivers works with ClassLink, and I can go right back here. Let me click on this. Your student, once they see this icon to log in, it will take them straight into the program. So they will not need to enter any additional usernames or passwords from here. So if these are the two screens you might want to just take a picture of with your phone or a screenshot and with your device, because these are the directions for how they will be able to get into the program. Thank you for unmuting yourself. I appreciate it.
And then Ms. Stafford, what I would say is that these documents, as far as the steps on logging in and using Imagine Learning, those are translated and we could share those as well in an email to share with our families.
Wonderful. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, good. Please do that. Unmute yourself, ask questions. I really appreciate that. It helps. All right. So looking a little bit at some of the first language support that your child will find within Imagine Language and Literacy. The very first time that your child sees instructions in a new type of activity, so they haven't seen this type of activity or these directions before, those instructions will be in the first language. This is one of the ways that we really scaffold up for our students in Imagine Language and Literacy. We have the instructions in this program in 15 different languages. So those 15 languages, once enabled, the directions will appear within the program while the content of the activity will still be in English. Now, the second and third time that a student sees that similar type of activity, it'll be a different activity again because there are thousands of activities, but with similar directions, that you will see then, your child will see that translation icon. And that is when your child can click the translation button to hear the directions in your child's first language, if that's been enabled. Once your child sees an activity for the fourth or fifth time with similar directions, then the instructions will be in English. However, if your child feels stuck or if there is a pause, if the program determines that there has been a moment of pause where they may need the directions again, that translation button will reappear. And so it's really trying to support our students, but also continually challenge them and push them in order to be able to grow and develop in that academic and basic English instruction. All right. So that's kind of how you see scaffolds start fading, the activity where we always want to boost up our students, but at the same time, if they need additional translation support, it will be inserted back in for your child. Now, next, I'm going to pause and see if there are any other questions about the translation support before I move on and show some activities in the program. Okay. I see. I see one question. Thank you for putting it in chat. The program is mentioned for pre-K students too. Do they need an access code from their teacher to work in this program?
That was the question I asked you.
Sorry? Oh, for pre-K. So I have to probably ask the district there to speak exactly. I know there's some availability in pre-K, but in terms of the implementation exactly, whether it starts in kindergarten or first grade for most, can you answer, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so from the English Learner Services Department, we offer it to all English learners, first through 12th grade actually. And I know our ECE program does also offer it to pre-K. I'm sorry, for us it's K through 12, not first through 12, K through 12. And then ECE does offer it to their preschools, but I'm not sure if it's only ELs or if they offer it to everyone at the pre-K level.
Thank you for helping. I appreciate that. So as I've shared with you, there are 15 different languages that the entire program will support for your children. So I'm going to give you an example of several activities in 3 different languages. You know, there are many sounds in the English language that do not exist in other languages and vice versa, of course. So the program, when that first language is enabled, the program will identify sounds that the student or your child needs to be successful in learning English, and will insert academic learning activities to teach those different sounds. And so this is one of those activities, there are hundreds like this, but this is one. This particular one is in Portuguese. The next activity I will show you is in Spanish. And then after that, in Arabic. But there are, again, remember, 15 different languages. So I've just picked activities out of 3 to highlight the different types of learning and engaging activities that your child will see when working in this program. I like to show this one in particular because, in distance learning right now, when our children are not in their desks at school with their teachers, when the teachers would usually be face to face and saying, watch my lips, see how I say this. Now you do the same. In this case, the program will actually do that for your child. So it's really a nice additional skill built into the program. You can see during distance learning.
Meet new sounds.
Aqui estão alguns sons mágicos. Escute com atenção.
Chicken, chair, chipmunk, chimpanzee.
Você notou que todas as palavras começam com o mesmo som? Todas elas começam com o som de ch. Clique nas figuras para ouvir a palavra outra vez.
Chicken, chair, chipmunk, chimpanzee.
O som de ch é um novo som. Muitas palavras em inglês também têm o som de ch.
Chicken, chair, chipmunk, chimpanzee.
É a sua vez agora.
Meet new.
The next activity, wanted to repeat. All right. And in this activity, as I've shared with you, this one, it will be in Spanish. And it's teaching both, as I shared, both academic and basic vocabulary for our children.
Ahora vamos a aprender acerca de
Wild animals. Bear,
oso,
elephant,
elefante,
lion,
león,
monkey,
mono,
zebra.
cebra. Cada una de estas
Blend the letter sounds to read this word. Beast, best, chest, best. Yes!
el mejor.
Blend the letter sounds. Here's a word that you'll see in the next story.
Observe.
Observar.
Say,
Observe.
click here to listen to the translation again. Click here to listen to a definition.
Observe. To watch closely. The girl observed the bird carefully building its nest.
Click here to listen to a translation of this definition. Click here.
Observar. Mirar detenidamente. La niña observó con atención cómo el ave construía su nido.
Gravity. Noun. A force that pulls objects toward a planet or star.
Gravedad. Ahora
And then our third activity that I wanted to highlight and share with you is teaching a first language support with Arabic built in or enabled.
Alphabet action.
هل تعرف الحروف الأبجدية؟ هيا لنتحقق من ذلك. هذا هو الحرف
B. Uppercase B. Lowercase b. B.
ينطق
As in banana.
قل
Banana.
انقر فوق
Lowercase b. Great job. Banana.
انقر فوق السهم لمشاهدة كلمات أكثر. انظر إلى هذه الكلمة.
Brazil. Boat.
انقر فوق
Lowercase b. Great job. Boat.
الآن جاء دورك في الكتابة.
B.
أكمل هذه الكلمة عن طريق كتابة.
Uppercase B.
تأكد من أن الحرف يظهر هكذا.
Brazil.
أكمل هذه الكلمة عن طريق كتابة.
Lowercase b.
تأكد من أن الحرف يظهر هكذا.
Bridge. Click Let's go.
Okay. So please know that when your child has his or her first language enabled in the program, the directions will be in that language. So your child won't see all of the additional languages, just the one that has been enabled, that is your child's, his or her first language at home. So the languages that Imagine Language and Literacy support are here listed. I shared with you that there are 15 different languages. These are the languages that, when enabled, the directions for the first, second, and third time that your child sees a certain type of activity, the directions will be in his or her first language. Are there any questions about the language support built into Imagine Language and Literacy? I just wanted to make sure that you understood that I showed you activities of 3 different languages enabled, but your child will see the activity in English and, if enabled, their first language for those directions. Okay. Now, next I'm going to share with you a few additional activities that you can see. These will be in English, but again, when the language support is enabled for your child, the directions for the program and that each activity will be in his or her first language. I'm just going to go into a website now and bring that up. Here we go. All right. Would you mind giving me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? It now should say 01 pronoun chant. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So this is an example of a pathway for David. David is a 3rd grade student who started in using Imagine Language and Literacy at the very beginning of his 3rd grade year. He spent 1 year using the program. At the beginning of 3rd grade, he was reading at approximately kindergarten to early 1st grade reading in English. And within a year, working in language and literacy was nearly caught up to grade level, just about, very close, within reach. And these are some of the activities that you can see that David encountered and that your child will also working in Imagine Language and Literacy. So each lesson sequence for your child in language and literacy surrounds a text. Now, that's not to say each activity is a text, because it's definitely not, but every activity is going to provide the skills, the vocabulary, all the enrichment that your child needs in order to be successful when they do get to that text or the storybook that they're going to read. And obviously it looks really different for our kindergartners, right? As some of our 3rd or 5th graders, the content in the pathway is going to look very different for your child. This is just one example, but the pathway will be continuously adjusting, so it'll know what type of activity your child needs and meet them where they are in order to help build on their skills. So this is one activity helping front load or helping develop the skills for this child in order to access and be successful when they read the text.
We use pronouns to play games. Pronouns take the place of names. He has it, it's his. She has it, it's hers. He, his. She, hers. have it. It's theirs. We have it. It's ours. They, theirs. We, ours. I have it. It's mine. Better luck next time. We use pronouns to play games. Pronouns take the place of names.
Okay. The next activity that David would encounter is to learn academic verbs, adjectives, and adverbs in this engaging activity.
Which word matches the video? Repeat. Agree. Disagree.
Decade. Now you, the word.
Decade.
Choose the word that matches the video. Repeat. Accurate answer. Repeat.
Decade. Now you repeat the word.
Decade.
You repeat words by saying them over. Which word matches the video? Repeat. Discuss. Disagree.
Isn't that a great book? I really liked it.
No, I don't like it.
Choose the word that matches the video.
And this next activity is called the syllable split. This is helping David decode multisyllabic words based on common letter sounds.
Syllable split. Use the lightning bolt to break this word into syllables. Click here to submit your answer. Split this word after the consonant and say the short vowel sound. Drag the lightning bolt to break this word into syllables. Right. Read each syllable. Now read the whole word. Select the cloud that says the right word. Shiver. Click here to submit your answer. Silver. Sliver. Shiver. Now, let's see if that word makes sense in the sentence. The cold air caused me to shiver. Does that word make sense? Choose yes or no. Right, shiver does make sense in this sentence. Use the lightning bolt.
Just giving you a little example, but I don't think you need to see all of them, the entire thing. But then we get to the text where the student is going to read. And as you can see here, based on each of the activities leading up to this text, leading up to your child reading this story, everything was helping build them up for success. So really helping support with vocabulary, with the skills that they need to be successful in reading this story. And then following the following activities, there will be additional activities. This one is teaching David how to create a contraction from 2 shorter words. And in this last activity, it's a very short video where David's learning how to identify, to support claims and additional skills that are part reflection on what David read, but also additionally really building David up with additional skills. So this is hopefully helpful for you to see the different types of activities that your child will encounter throughout language and literacy. Of course, there are over 4,000. And so there are quite a few that your child will not see the same thing twice as they're working through their pathway. Are there any questions?
Not at the moment, but I imagine as you know, you're probably some of them might come up.
Perfect. That sounds good. Thank you. Okay. So when we're in distance learning, as we are now, and our children are learning at home, we really want to make sure that they are motivated and they're excited. And that sometimes can be a challenge at home, that sometimes can be a challenge in the classroom as well. So I wanted to share with you families some of the ways that there are motivations built into language and literacy. So you're aware and you can, talk to your children about some of the booster bits, for example, the first one. So one of the ways that the program is most motivating for your child, and they get very excited, are through booster bits. So booster bits are awarded every time your child is working through a learning activity. Your child's teacher can also assign booster bits when they read and record and write within the program also. All the booster bits come together and are able to be a big reward once there are 1,000 booster bits earned by your child. So once your child has earned 1,000 booster bits, they get to go to the Imagine Museum. And they love the Imagine Museum because there are different types of games in there. They can also build their avatar, which we know our kids love. At least I know mine do. I'm sure yours do also. But it's kind of that brain break. But don't worry, parents, because it's only a 90-second brain break. So they are going to have 90 seconds to play in the Imagine Museum once they've earned 1,000 booster bits. And then the program after that minute and a half will put them right back into their learning pathway so they can work on their learning activities. So that is one way, through booster bits and the Imagine Museum, that the program really builds and excites your children. Now this screen is important, parents and families, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody, for families to understand, because this is the end of session screen. So because language and literacy is a timed program, your child will work all the way until he or she sees this end of session screen. You don't want them to click out before they see this screen. Otherwise, the program will make them repeat that same activity the next time they log in. So instead, students should work until they see this end of session screen. You can see this will be your child's avatar that they've built, and it's really meant to be a reflection. So what did you learn today? Well, how many activities did you work through? Here, this child worked through 13 activities, read one book. If your child worked on different sight words that day, that would be listed here. How many different booster bits did your child earn during that 20-minute session? And then also it's important to see here this time, because a lot of times I have parents ask me, okay, what does it mean? Why did the program log my child out at 19 minutes and they didn't go till 20? What happened? And so I just wanted to make sure that I shared with you the fact that the program will never cut your child off right in the middle of a learning activity. It always wants them to be able to complete that piece of learning. And so sometimes that means that it will stop if the activity is at 19 minutes, may even be like 18 minutes and 30 seconds, or it may take your child to 21 minutes or 22 minutes, and that's okay. Once they hit this end of session screen, then you families know they have completed their Imagine Language and Literacy session for that day. Are there any questions about that? Okay. There are also certificates that your child's teacher may be sending home through PDF or through email. So that's something that also you can look out for, because it's another way to check in with your child, find out, and compliment them, give them a pat on the back or a big hug regarding how many activities they've worked through, how many books they've read, different vocabulary, words learned. And so that's something also that's very motivating for our children, plus a nice reflection on how much they've done, to look at and say, wow, you've learned 26 new vocabulary words in this last month. That's fantastic. And so it's a way for you to see what they're working on as well, families. Are there any questions about motivation? Okay. So I often have a question when I'm working with parents, how long should my child be at work in the program? And I always like to say, to make sure that Twin Rivers will, and to your child's teachers will definitely give you the exact school usage expectations. But Imagine Learning has done many third-party research projects with the third parties who have found that this is really the sweet spot for that growth and that foundational growth in developing English language. And that is 3 to 5 times per week, approximately 20 minutes. And so as you can see here, it may differ a bit depending on the grade level, but it's really up to your school district. It's up to Twin Rivers and their teachers to determine exactly how much time. I want to say it's 20 minutes set at Twin Rivers. And so that's really, if your child's working 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times per week, they're really going to get and be able to hit that sweet spot where you'll start to see a lot of really exciting growth. Okay. I put a slide in for questions to make sure if I didn't pause enough in the middle that we would have time for questions at the end. So please feel free to ask questions. While you do, I wanted to share this. So please feel free to take a picture or a screenshot. I work with your children's district as well as their teachers in helping work through the program and all of the different reports and data that can be developed throughout working in the program. But sometimes as parents and families at home, things come up that are, the system is acting funny. And so we want to make sure that you, if you need to, can reach out to our customer care. This is customer care, the phone number where you can either chat or call. This is the email where you can send a question via email. I recommend one of these two, and that's if there's a problem with the actual program, or sometimes there are different glitches that come up. And so wanted to make sure that you had this information. All right. I see a question. My child is in 6th grade. Can she also access the other grades? Well, that's such a good question. Thank you so much for asking that, because the program is adaptive. When your child starts for the very first time in Imagine Language and Literacy, they will take an assessment. Now, this is not assessment that your teachers are going to be grading. This is not, we don't want them to be worried about this or stressed at all. But we also want to make sure they take it on their own and independently. We don't want any big sisters or big brothers helping, because the pathway for your child adapts. And so that's such a good question, because if the program needs to, it will insert foundational lessons from grades below, or it can insert additional lessons from grades above. And so it'll match where and individualize where your child's learning is and where they want to go. So constantly working towards keeping them at grade level, but if they need additional support, the pathway will automatically adapt for your child to add additional grade level support lessons if needed. I hope that answers your question. I'm glad you asked that. That was a really good one. Always need to remind families to make sure that that assessment is taken individually, independently, because that will help the program figure out exactly where your child needs to be for their learning activities. And sometimes when we have like a high school brother take it, or high school sister, then it is too difficult once your child logs in to do the activities on their own. Other questions? This is a good one. Do I think this program will increase confidence? I definitely believe so. Absolutely. My children were actually working in language and literacy prior to me joining the company. So I got to see, back when I was a teacher, I got to see firsthand how this improved their reading. And so it's going to break down every skill needed in order to read and speak. And so because of that, because of the foundation it's building in, it will definitely boost your children's confidence in their language skills, in their English language skills. I would say absolutely. It will also record them. And so your children's teachers can share those recordings and you can hear that confidence and that fluency build over throughout the year because it's recorded into the program. And sometimes we have children who kind of whisper, and then you can hear by April and May that they're no longer whispering. They are really much more confidently speaking to the program in their reading. And so that's really exciting to see. Any other questions?
Ms. Stafford, probably what we could do is stop the screen share, and then that way we could maybe, if any of our English Learner Services Department want to share any information or any other from the district, I think that would be useful as well. And then we could continue and see.
Perfect, thank you.
So, and then I think I saw, is Dr. Villegas, is she here? I saw her logged in. And then I'll let Mr. Becerra or Ms. Jody talk about any information that they want.
I don't know that Dr. Villegas is with us anymore, but yes, Ms. Stafford was saying earlier, we do highly recommend that students are on the program at least 3 times a week for 20-minute periods at a time. If not more than that, it'd be greatly helpful. We know that there's iReady, which is the other program that our district uses, but Imagine Learning is really a program that is focused on language development for our English learners. So we'd like to really highly encourage our families to ensure that their children are on the program on a regular basis and that they're getting at least 3 20-minute sessions per week. We know that right now with distance learning, there are many opportunities for students to be on programs such as Imagine Learning. So we again encourage you to take advantage of this great program.
I don't see there's any more questions. I'll say thank you very much for each of you that are here today. As Ms. Stafford mentioned, we will send the information to you all, and we appreciate the time you've taken today in learning more about Imagine Learning and deciding what are the ways you want to be involved in your child's education. And we thank you very much for being here today. If there's any last questions, please ask them. If not, then I think we'll be finishing this meeting, and we appreciate the English Learner Services Department staff from being here today, and Ms. Stafford as well. For those that, if you have any friends and families, please invite them to additional workshops we'll be offering in the incoming days, and we'll share that information to you as we have via email and text. And thank you very much for being here today. So with that, thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.